from the betting capital of the world, giving raw and real breakdowns of mixed martial arts and recapping UFC events like no one else, with producer Martin on the ones and twos and combat sports betting expert Effie. You're listening to Any Action Sportscast. Any Action Sportscast. So put your headphones on and let's take this podcast to the next level.
This isn't a podcast. It's a sportscast.
What is up, guys? We are back. It's your boy Effie with Any Action Sportscast, and as always, we have producer Martin on the ones and twos.
Welcome back to the.
What kind of shirt is that?
It's a Nelk Boy shirt.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, dude. A stupid little Nuck Boy shirt. My bad. Anyway. Oh.
Keep the Nelk Boy's name out your mouth.
Just a joke, dude.
Keep the Nelk Boy's name out your mother mouth.
Welcome back to the number one sportscast in the world, where we give full card predictions and a betting breakdown. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn on those post notifications and share this video as well. UFC 273, the Korean Zombie versus Alexander Volkanowski. Volkanowski coming out as the favorite, currently at minus 750 versus the Korean Zombie at a plus 525.
145 title on the line. And Martin, those odds are crazy. They should be way closer, but we'll get into it. Alexander Volkanowski, 23-1, Korean Zombie 17-6. Now, Volkanowski is 10-0 in the UFC, undefeated, never been beaten in the UFC. Korean Zombie 4-2 since coming back from his mandatory 2-year military service. Shout out to him. That's respect. He lost his title fight versus Jose Aldo, and he clawed all the way back. Now, Martin, we got to talk about it. This fight's happening under some sort of, unusual circumstances. This fight was originally booked for Max Holloway, the number one rightful contender in this division. But Max Holloway got injured. Couldn't take the fight. Fight got canceled. The Korean Zombie was the next guy. And it just so happened that Korean Zombie, was coming off beating Dan Ige, but before that, he lost to Brian Ortega, who just lost to Volkanowski. So it's one of those weird matchups. But nothing against Korean Zombie, man. He's the next guy up, and I think he's going to make the most of his opportunity here. I think this fight's going to be closer than a lot of, the line indicates. And let's get right into it. I think everyone's going to look at this fight as, well, Volkanowski is a volume striker. He's a point striker. He's a point, fight winner. And Korean Zombie really only has a puncher's chance. And my opinion is, my theory on this fight is, Martin, how does Volkanowski go into the fight? Because if you look at the interviews recently, he's been saying that he really wants to get a finish. If he gets a finish here, he can be on his way to solidifying himself as the best featherweight of all time. Surely a rematch with Max Holloway is coming if he wins this fight. And if he wins that Max rematch, then, hard to argue. But it's just the fact that both his Max fights have been so close. Lately, he's been nothing but a decision machine. And I really do think that his legacy, quote unquote, for pound, can really be upgraded here with a finish. Granted, Korean Zombie is not considered the number one contender. He's I think number 5 or 6, but he's been around. He's a veteran. He's fought against the best guys. He's only lost in his last 6 fights. Only lost to Brian Ortega and Yari Rodriguez. 2 top 5 contenders for sure. And I think that Korean Zombie is going to put forward his best effort. He's out there training with Henry Cejudo, and I also saw him describe Volkanowski and how he thought, about him and how he thinks about his game. And he said that he's a point fighter, and I think he's right. But honestly, Martin, I think Volkanowski's going to get the finish.
Next in the co-main event for the bantamweight title, we have Aljamain Sterling taking on Petr Yan, a minus 500 versus a plus 400.
Oh, and let me tell you, boy, the rematch has been anticipated. This is probably the fight I was looking forward to most all year. Petr Yan and Aljo running it back for the belt. Everyone knows the story. Petr Yan illegally knees Aljo and loses the fight. Martin, you and I watched that fight over and over again. We obviously know Petr Yan was on his way to win the title. Petr Yan, to everyone's eyes, looks like the better fighter here. He's well-rounded. Aljo was supposed to have a superior grappling advantage in the first fight, and he got tripped, take down that will. It was insane. Now, guys, the way I look at this fight, there is no way Aljo can look as bad as he did in the first fight. Now, Petr Yan starts as a slow fighter. He usually loses round 1 and then just blitzes you the rest of the fight. He downloads what you're doing, and he's super smart, has super high fight IQ. I mean, other than the illegal knee. But he's just so smart with his reads that he just waits, feels comfortable, and then he puts it on you, man. He progresses as the fight goes, and I think the time to beat Peter Yan was in his 3-round run. I think if you're gonna beat him, you're gonna have to blanket him for 2 rounds and try to steal it that way, because in 5-round fight, dude, that 4th, 5th round, you're gonna get effed up by Peter Yan. He's one of the most savage fighters in the UFC, and he's pound for pound top 5 for me. The thing is, Aljo presents some problems. I think the line is way off. I think the line is super disrespectful to Aljo. And out of the big 3 fights this weekend on the pay-per-view, Martin, I think Aljo has the biggest chance of pulling the upset, and I'll tell you why. Look at the first round of the last fight. Obviously, everyone, in my opinion, would score that for Aljo. The volume was incredible. It was insane. It was clearly unsustainable. There's no way Aljo's going to come out and have that much volume in the beginning of the fight. It just doesn't make logical sense. So I expect him to come out and be more smart with his strikes and how he attempts. The thing is, I expect Peter to lose the first round. So if you're gonna bet on Peter Yan, and I do think he wins, Martin, live bet him. He's gonna probably lose the first round. The line's gonna crash a little bit, and you get more value. But guys, that doesn't mean that Aljo can't win this fight. It only takes one mistake on the ground for Peter to give up his back. You obviously saw what Corey Sandhagen, did against Aljo. He got submitted in, I think, 60 seconds. Peter Yan is smart, though. He's very good and capable of getting up from Aljo's takedowns, as we saw in the first fight. But if you look at the Corey Sandhagen fight against Peter Yan, Corey outstruck Peter Yan in 4 out of the 5 rounds, Martin. And it's because Peter almost is like an extreme counterpuncher. He just waits for you to throw, and he'll just crack you with a 3-punch combo and a kick at the end every time you throw. And he's just so good at cutting angles, pushing you to the warning track. And eventually you get clipped by that one shot that gets through clean. I do think Aljo's going to have to push the pace and get sneaky takedowns towards the end of the rounds to try and sneak and win rounds. I think he's going to look good in rounds 1 and 2 and start to fade. So maybe a Peter Yan late finish, but the books are privy to that. You would usually get some juice on round 4, round 5 finish, but they know that's when Peter Yan's dangerous. Oh man, in this next fight is the fight everyone's looking forward to. This is why we're biting the pay-per-view, in my opinion. I'm tuning in to watch Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat Chimaev. Now, dude, betting-wise, this line is way off. Minus 650 for Khamzat Chimaev. Are you kidding me? Versus Gilbert Burns at plus 450. What do you guys say about it?
I think he's going to bring him to Dana White. I think Burns, I know he's a jiu-jitsu, really good on the ground, but I think these Russian wrestling, I'm telling you, is on a whole different level. This guy is not only a year-round wrestler, he's a lifelong wrestler. All he does is smash people. He loves teaching wrestling. It's his game. I think it's gonna be a super walk in the park. I say 2 minutes and 36 seconds. TKO.
Okay. TKO. My guy Martin's out here calling minutes. He's predicting the minute of victory here. Wow, I don't see that too often. But yeah, I gotta agree. I don't know about walk in the park, guys, but I do expect Khamzat to dominate this fight. And guys, it's nothing against Gilbert Burns. I love Gilbert Burns. But let's look at the fight. Khamzat Chimaev will finish his career in the weight division above at middleweight. Gilbert Burns has fought at 155. He could probably make 165. There's going to be a huge size disadvantage here. And I know Khamzat only has, I think, a 4-inch reach advantage, but their bodies are just way different here. Khamzat is just way bigger than Burns. Now, like Martin said, Burns, elite jiu-jitsu. Everyone knows he's the ADCC champion, won all these medals, is an elite, renowned jiu-jitsu practitioner, but they don't punch you in jiu-jitsu. Khamzat will be able to smash him from top position, and I do think he's going to be able to get him down. And also, when it stays on the feet, I do think that Gilbert Burns is shown to be a little bit chinny. He got dropped by Usman jab, and granted, Usman's striking has gotten way better since joining Trevor Whitman, but you never want to see a guy get dropped by a jab. And like I said earlier, Khamzat's a way bigger guy, so he has way more power. I won't say he has way more power, like it's a sure thing, but I'm assuming he has more power than Kamaru Usman. And like Martin said, his wrestling is just top-notch. His gas tank to go from 0 to 100 is insane. He's at 100, going boom, 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 trying to get the kill, trying to eat everybody for every second of every minute of every fight. I remember the first time I saw him fight, I thought, wow, I think I just saw the first ever 10-7 round. Who is this guy? Fights a week later, gets another win. This guy might be the real deal, and I do think Gilbert Burns should, in theory, pose a threat to his skill. We should get answers here, guys. How does he handle the jiu-jitsu? How does he handle someone, in the top of the division? How does he handle, can Gilbert Burns have that one-punch clip shot? He clipped Usman, didn't he? No one's clipped Hansen. I think he's been punched one total time in the UFC. This is incredible. I haven't seen a prospect like this ever, I don't think. I'm leaning Khamzat, and I do think he gets a TKO finish from ground and pound. I think he's not going to struggle to get this fight to the ground, whether he gets it in the cage or on the open mat. And I do think Burns might pull guard. I think he might say, screw it, I'm going to go for a leg lock. I'm going to try and get him from bottom. And I think that might be his fate, not be well for him.
Next up in the strawweight division, we have Tecia Torres, a -105, versus Mackenzie Dern, a -115. And Effie, I know you say don't do a simp bet, but please listen to me before I tell you how I'm taking this fight. Okay, I think Mackenzie's grappling and jiu-jitsu game is what's going to win her this fight. She's very comfortable on the ground. She does have a tendency to bring her head down and swing heavy, and that's where I can see Torres catching her, and it becoming a scramble game, but then it just goes right into Mackenzie's game, her judo throws to the, to a scramble, to the knee bar. That's very scary, and I think she's been working on that super hard because I think that's going to be her key. I was watching tape on Torres, tons of tape, and I couldn't see barely any fights where she actually showed her ground game. I didn't really get to see her demonstrate it, and so that does concern me. Also, Mackenzie, her energy, she's just win or lose, she's just in it. She just loves performing. Torres is very strong on her feet. That Muay Thai style striking where she's willing to take damage, but then to give it back ×2. I can see why they call her the tiny tornado, because her pace is very fast and her hands follow suit. If she's not careful, I think Mackenzie takes advantage, hits her with a knee bar and then again scrambles out. I favor the ground game in this fight, which is why I'm taking Mackenzie straight up at a -115, and I'm also going to take her at a submission at a +225. I just couldn't pass that up.
Oh man, hit the horn for my guy Martin. What a great breakdown. I agree. If you're going to bet that fight, I would, lean Mackenzie during submission. But guys, Martin, Tecia Torres, this might make you feel even better about your Dern bet here. Tecia Torres, 13 professional wins, 5 losses. Has never finished anybody. She's a decision machine. Her amateur career, 6-0. Six decisions. She just goes to the cards. That's why I think the over is like something crazy, like mine is like 300, 2.5 rounds. They know it's going to go to the cards. Now, vice versa, Dern, super dangerous on the ground, super live for a submission, finish here. Thing is, Tecia Torres never been submitted. 18 professional fights, never been submitted. Now, she's obviously never had to defend chokes for someone as good as Mackenzie Dern's BJJ, but I do think she's smart enough. She's, been around the block. And guys, look at her resume. She's 13-8, but look at who she's lost to in the UFC. She lost to Marina Rodriguez, who, is going to be contending for a title here soon. Weili Zhang, former champion. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, former champion. Jessica Andrade, former champion. Rose Namajunas, former champion. And then in the contender series, she lost to Carla Esparza. She's going to be fighting for a title against Rose. Guys, you have to be top tier to beat Tecia Torres. And I don't think Mackenzie's there. I do think she is improving and she's shown to be, approaching a better level in her career, but I don't think it's going to be enough to beat Tecia. Can Mackenzie get her down, Martin? Yes. But look at her takedown career record in the UFC. I think she has 2 for 28 takedowns. That's terrible. She just doesn't fight. She doesn't set anything up to get takedowns. The way she gets it are from body locks against the cage, trips. Like I said, judo throws. I think Ticia's smart enough to avoid that, but I'm worried, man. All it takes is 2 takedowns to win 2 rounds for Dern. I'm scared that she could just wet blanket her and hold her down and then eventually get the finish. But man, never been submitted in 18 fights. I don't think it's going to happen here, and I do lean the dog. This card is low-key, bro, filled with dogs that I think can win. Tecia Torres, technically at -105, is dog still because Dern's -115. Sucks that she's at minus money. I wish we could have snagged her at plus money, plus 105 maybe. But people know this fight's going to be close, and I don't think Mackenzie Dern's going to be able to get the submission here. She did get 1 takedown against Marina Rodriguez and won that round, but that was a 5-round fight. This is a 3-round fight. So, I don't know, man. If she can't get this fight down, and she is shown to struggle to get takedowns, I do lean Tecia to piece her up.
Next up in the lightweight division, we have Vince Patel, 14-2, a -140 versus Mark Matson, 11-0 at the plus 110.
Now, Martin, when I dug into this fight, clearly everyone knows Mark Matson, Olympic level wrestling. The guy is a force. I think he won a silver medal. I'm not sure what medal he actually got, but I'm pretty sure he medaled in the Olympics, man. That's insane. Greco-Roman wrestler, dude's a savage. Thing is, he doesn't have that much of a gas tank. Vince Patel, UFC veteran, like I said, or like Martin said earlier, 14-2. The guy's been around the block. Matson's 11-0, and it's because, guys, he's been able to out-wrestle most of his opponents. The thing is, his last fight, Martin, we had money on him, but he fought the opposite of how we thought he was going to fight. He went out and like try to strike with Clay Guida. Now, granted, Clay Guida is really old and on his way out, but why would you do that? You have a clear grappling advantage, and he just standing bang the whole time. I don't know. I didn't like the fight IQ there, and I think Patel can get up here. And the way I see this fight playing out, Matson should win round 1. He should start to fade in round 2. And is Patel live for a 3rd round finish? Maybe, but it's going to be greasy. It's going to be a greasy decision here. I do see why money's coming in on Patel for him to be the favorite, because I'm not impressed with Matson, really. Because, Martin, you have to be well-rounded. It's one thing to be an Olympic wrestler, but you have to have enough gas, fight IQ, overall game. This is MMA. This is not just wrestling. I gotta lean with the savvier veteran Patel here, even though I do tend to bet on wrestlers. I love betting on guys that can win minutes, and obviously I think that Matson can win minutes early in this fight, but I just can't bet on a guy that has gas tank issues, and this fight screams stay away. So my pick, no action on this fight, my pick is Patel.
Next up in the men's welterweight division, we have Mickey Gall at 7-4, the plus 160 here versus Mike Mallett, 7-1 and 1, the minus 200.
Now, Martin, usually we've been on the show and we talk about how when guys are debuting in the UFC, coming off winning from the Dana White Contender Series, and they're fighting a UFC veteran with multiple UFC fights, we take the UFC fighter if that guy is the underdog. Perfect example right here, right? Nope. I'm all over Mike Mallett. I think he's a real deal, dude. If you look at his record, 7-1-1, that one draw, it was because he 10-8'd a guy. He won a round in 10-8 round 1, lost the next 2 rounds, it was a draw. Super suspect gas tank. If you look at his resume, he kind of takes these weird 2-year breaks. Not 2 years at a time, but like 2 years off here, 1 year off there. He had a health problem he had to get resolved. But guys, this guy can be the truth. I think he has potential to be really good. He has good striking. He's able to finish fights with his striking, but he's also really good and real durable with his fight IQ on the ground. He can get fights to the ground if he wants, and I think he's the rightful favorite here. Now, don't get twisted. Mickey Gall has experience. He's fought better competition for sure. But Mallett fought Hakeem Dawodu on the regional scene. Granted, he got finished, but I mean that's a great experience to have right there. The guy, I think, the world of Hakeem, but I do lean Mike Mallett here. I understand why he's a favorite. Don't have any action on him right now, but who knows? Maybe by fight day we will.
Next up in the featherweight division, we have Aspen Ladd, 9-2, a plus 155 versus Raquel Pennington, 13-8 at a minus 190.
And the thing with this fight, Martin, is what is Aspen Ladd? What kind of Aspen Ladd are we going to get here? She's coming off that bad loss to Norma Dumont, but in my opinion, she had all that crazy health problems. Martin, you're a wrestler. You know the circumstances of a weight cut. She got on the scales. You could tell she was going to lose that fight. She looked terrible. I'm surprised the commission let her fight. Yeah, she actually didn't get let fight earlier. She made weight, and she looked so bad. Commission calls off her fight. Rebook her with Norma Dumont, a weight class up. She gets smoked. So she goes from this highly touted prospect up-and-comer to everyone being like, she's not that good. She's not good at fighting. She's fizzled out. And I think that's kind of quick, in my opinion, for Aspen Ladd. Now, on the other hand, Raquel Pennington, dude, been around the block, UFC veteran, currently on a 3-fight win streak, hasn't lost since losing to Holly Holm, finished her last opponent, and I just don't think this is a good stylistic matchup, though, for Raquel. I do understand that she's, has more experience, and that matters a lot in women's MMA, but I think Aspen can get this fight to the ground. I think we're going to see why she was such a prospect. Now, Martin, if you know me, you know I'm not a big fan on Aspen Ladd. There's certain fighters where I just don't think they're that good, or I don't want to say that good, but like, I think they're a little overvalued on the betting lines. Now, finally, this is the first time Aspen Ladd will be at plus money. I think that she's been wrongly favored in some of her fights, and I do think that there's some value here on the underdog. And up next, Martin, we have a banger in the heavyweight division. Talking about Rosinak versus Taipa. Now, the odds currently sit minus 150 Rosinak, plus 125 for Taipa. Now, upon further review, I just don't feel I have a strong opinion on this fight either way. Can Taipa get him down and win minutes on the ground? Yes. And drag out a boring decision and a boring fight for the fans? Yes. Rosinak doesn't throw any strikes. He's like the Tyron Willie, but huge and crazy power. Thing is, I do think Rosinak can get a knockout here. I mean, the guy's power is unbelievable, guys. It's like Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, and then Rosinak. He's not there, quite there with their god power level of, their force, but he's close. He's like that tier right below. And Taipa has shown he can get clipped by, weaker opponents. Greg Hardy was piecing him up, man, and that's all I can think about when I see this fight. You can't be getting clipped by Greg Hardy and expect to not get knocked out by Rosinak. So I do think Rosinak is live to get a finish here. If you don't like the minus 150 odds, maybe take a peek at that prop. But I lean Rosinak.
Next up in the welterweight division, we have Ian Gary, a minus 360, 8-0 versus 5-1 Darian Weeks, a plus 270. You know, all I can say is I think Gary is just way more well-rounded, and Weeks' only advantage to me is his power. You know, I respect it enough not to take it in straight up money line, but the safest way I could take this is the over at a minus 170, 1.5 rounds.
Wow, me and Martin have not talked about this fight pre-show, and I'm surprised to hear him say that he likes the over. I love the over here. Couldn't agree more. I do think Gary, is a better fighter here, but let's look at the fight, guys. When I saw this fight was booked, you totally get the vibes of the UFC giving someone you've never heard of. So immediately I have to look up who Weeks is. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the guy that fought Brian Barberena on short notice. It was a good fight, but he ended up gassing out. He took it on short notice, and he fought a guy that has, a lot of UFC experience. Someone impressed me. Ian Gary, on the other hand, is supposed to be this super touted prospect. Hey, Martin, what was his age? I think he was 24. That's young, man. Dude, super talented for what he's doing at his age. Impressed. But guys, he might be rushed a little too early here. At first, I thought, is Weeks, another can that the UFC went to the vending machine to get to come fight a prospect. But upon further review, I think he might win this fight. I think the line's way off. Martin said the line's currently at 360, and earlier, guys, this line was at minus 400. Money's been coming in on Weeks, and I don't disagree with that. I think there's a ton of value. Shout out to the Valley Boys on Weeks, because Gary has shown he's not up to the hype. In my opinion, he fought a guy that's not in the UFC anymore in his last fight, and he didn't look that good. He was getting tagged. Sure thing, he got the finish in the last second of the round, but I don't know, man. He did not look like a minus 400 favorite in that fight. And he leaves himself open. He leaves his head out when he throws his combos. And I think Weeks can clip him. He's a professional boxer, Martin. He has, I think, close to 20 professional boxing fights. Only been finished one time, and it was a doctor stoppage. It wasn't even like he got knocked out. The guy has a chin on him. So I think he's going to be able to withstand Gary's threat here. And I do think it's going to get extended over 1.5 rounds. I love that bet. And I might even add it to our bets this week. So I do lean Weeks, but I lean even more the over here.
All right, well, this next one goes hella hard. It's up in the strawweight division. We have Pierre Rodriguez. They call her La Friera. She's 7-0, and she's barely the favorite at a minus 140. And she's fighting Kay Hansen. She's record is 7-5, and she's the plus 110.
Bro, and I think there's some recency hate. Usually there's recency bias where this is what we thought in the last fight. But they're hating on Kay Hansen here, guys. Pierre is making her debut, and granted, she is a good striker, and that's where her basis is. I was watching tape on her, man. She kind of gasses out sometimes. In my opinion, Kay Hansen, yes, she's not, on a skid here, in my opinion, and she's on 2-5 lose streak. If she loses here, she'll probably get cut by the UFC, probably be forced to fight in Invicta or Bellator somewhere, come back. And, that might not be a bad thing, but in my opinion, I do think Kay Hansen can win this fight. I do think it's a winnable fight. I do think there is some bias where, everyone's thinking Kay Hansen has that OnlyFans. She has, stuff outside the octagon. And everyone thinks she's, whatever. Like, they have their reasons to not like her or think she will lose or root for her to lose. I do think her skill set matches up well here. Obviously, I mentioned earlier that Pierre is a good striker and she's, a striking-based fighter, whereas Kay Hansen has a grappling advantage here. She's, I think, a purple belt in Eddie Bravo's Ninth Planet. But if she gets this fight to the ground, there's going to be a clear grappling advantage, in my opinion. In her last fight against Jasmine Judivicius, she was the smaller fighter. As soon as the fight started, everyone knew, and we faded Kay Hansen. I have faded Kay Hansen in the last 2 fights she fought, and we cashed that. But I think it's time to bounce back on the train and get back on the hype train. You might have an OnlyFans subscription for $15, but if we win, I'm just gonna donate that and give it to her. Let's go, Kay Hansen. I think she has a chance to win this fight. I think she's gonna use her grappling to win this fight, get this fight to the ground. Probably lean over as well. I gotta go with the dog here, Kay Hansen. Shout out to my OnlyFans.
Next up in the middleweight division, we have Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, 8-2, a minus 200 favorite, versus Josh Fremd, 9-2, plus 160.
Now, Martin, the thing with this fight is the books tell you how they think the fight's going to go. The fight doesn't go the distance on this fight, Martin. Minus 400. Someone's getting slept, dude. Someone is going to get knocked out or submitted here. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, in my opinion, is just really good all around. He's not really of a specialist, like, let's say grappling wise or jiu-jitsu wise or striking. He's kind of just well-rounded overall. He's, been in the UFC for a while now. Now, Fremd, I don't know if it's short notice, but I think he is making his debut. I couldn't find much tape on the guy. He is well-rounded. I can see that he's, has pretty good striking on what I did see. But I do see why Hernandez is the favorite. The proven UFC commodity, minus 200. I think the books are thinking experience is a factor here. But yeah, the minus 400 for a fight doesn't go the distance. I think it's on DraftKings. That's insane to me. That to me, I'm like tuning in just because for that. Like they're telling me, okay, someone's gonna get rocked here. Gall Hernandez, I think he can win. I think he's fighting at Extreme Couture here, Martin. So gonna lean with the Vegas guy. No action, no bet, no money on this fight. Gonna go ahead and root for the Vegas guy. Oh, brother, these guys stink. Talk about Olynyk versus Jared Bandera. I'm surprised the UFC could give me an even worse option to fade Olynyk with Latifi to Bandera. Now, guys, everyone knows how I feel about Olynyk. Go watch our last breakdown for UFC Columbus, and we had money on Latifi, and that was purely because Olynyk is 44 years old and has one submission in the last 7 years. He's supposed to be the submission threat. He has one in the last 7 years, or it might be 7 fights. Sorry. But guys, I kind of like Olynyk here. I like the 44-year-old, and it sucks because one of my rules, if you're 44 years old in the UFC, I have to bet against you no matter who it is. But the UFC gave me probably the worst option here. The only person I can think of be a worse fight here for Olynyk would be Henry Hunsucker. Now, Bandera actually looked better than I thought he was going to look against Andre Arlovski, where we had money on Arlovski and we ended up winning. But he looked better than I thought he was going to look. The thing with him is he's somewhat susceptible to takedowns. Now, that's obviously where Olynyk wants his fight. He wants to get this fight on the ground and control him, maybe look for a submission on the ground. But Bandera also not very good at blocking strikes. The 44-year-old might be able to land here. I'm just torn. I don't have a strong lean either way because on one hand, I want to fade the 44-year-old with one submission win in the last 7 fights, 7 years, whatever it is. Versus the other guy, I can't bet on him because he's not very good. He blocks punches with his face and he gets taken down by a gust of wind. Like, I don't know, man. I'm interested in this fight to see how it plays out. Like, who is worse? Like, which one's the worst one out of you two? And I do think the experience might be a factor here. Olynyk, dude, is 59-16. My guy almost has 60 professional MMA wins. That's insane. I don't know, man. It's a winnable fight for both guys. I really don't have a lean either way, but I gotta go with Bandera. I can't bet on the 44-year-old. Sorry about it, legend, but lean Bandera here. Now we'll wrap up our UFC 273 full card breakdown. We gave you guys our leans, our picks. But now it's time for producer Martin to give you the Any Action official bets.
We have Volkanowski via TKO plus 240, 1 unit to win 2.4. We have Jan versus Sterling on the over 3.5 rounds, 1.65 units to win 1. We also have Jan via decision plus 125, half a unit to win 0.62. We have Chimaev via TKO, KO minus 160, 2.4 units to win 1.5. We have the Tiny Tornado, Tisha Torres via decision, plus 160, 1 unit to win 1.6.
And that'll bring us to the lock of the night, guys. We are 8-1 in our sportscast history, 6-1 in 2020, and we're looking to keep it going here. I'm loving Khamzat Chimaev inside the distance, minus 170, 5.1 units to win 3. Guys, this is the biggest bet in our show's history. I feel extremely confident. I eat everybody. I kill everybody. Let's go. Get on the mic. Call Kamaru Usman out after a dominant finish. I hope he calls out Kamaru Usman after he wins the fight, puts on a dominant performance, and gets the finish early. I don't think Burns is going to make it to the cards, guys. I think Khamzat's going to finish this fight, whether it be submission or finish. Burns never been submitted, obviously extreme BJJ experience. I just think he's gonna get ground and pounded. Smaller fighter, better wrestling. I love this bet, guys. Lock of the night, biggest bet on our sportscast history. I think it's gonna hit. Guys, I think we're in store for an epic night of fights. Make sure you guys tune in next week when we preview Bilal Muhammad versus Vicente Luque. Make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and let us know what you think about the show. We really appreciate all the new viewers, all the new subscribers, and we'll continue to take any action. Which way to go if you want to smoke?